This is just an old radio, it's an old Tesco radio. They kindly left a bit of the platform station here. I'm just going into Lancaster on the bike from the north side of Lancaster. No, you don't usually get videos of the north side going in from the north side. It's absolutely beautiful. And we're going to get a bike chain and then we're going to go to Green Ayre and I'll tell you a little bit about Green Ayre. Oh, we're at Green Ayre and it's absolutely lovely. And it's quite interesting to think at one point this is the third biggest port in the UK, even though it did move a bit from Sunderland Point. Then here, as boats got deeper, it started moving again. So some of it went to Morecambe and eventually it's ended up where the port is in Haysham. But it's absolutely lovely. There's some great photos that you can find online of ships with massive sails, and it's just totally, you can't imagine it now. Can you imagine all the ships down there with the big sails? That boat, that bridge there was the railway bridge to Morecambe, which is now the dual carriageway, and it was one of the first electrified routes in the UK. But that wouldn't have been there. And after that is the Millennium Bridge that goes over to Skirton, and that wouldn't have been there. So Skirton that we've just come from over the Groundhouse Bridge would have been pretty cut off at one point. It's quite interesting to think. But not only did Green Ayre have that, it had all the mills and stuff like that, which is very little trace of it. We're actually standing where the railway station used to be, and the platform's just over here. So I'll take you over to the platform. They kindly left a bit of the platform station here, so we know where it was, or where it were, as they'd say around here. This line was it was a shame that this line went. From passengers it was closed early 60s, but kept freight till later on. But this train line goes all the way to, it's in Lancaster, goes to Morecambe. If you go that way, it goes through Holton and Caton, and then it meets the Bradford and Leeds train line. So a lot of the tourism Morecambe used to come via this train line. That's why it had its nickname Bradford on Sea, or Little Bradford sometimes they used to say it, because everyone would come down this train line on their holidays. And obviously everyone works in factories and things like that, so they all had the same holiday dates. So you go to Morecambe and you probably meet your next door neighbour. Show you a little bit of the mills and stuff like that, and it all kind of cross-references with the ships and the trains. Right, someone said last time, because on my old videos I used to put a bit of radio stuff in it. This is just an old radio, it's an old Tesco radio, made in China, and I didn't want to mess any one of my nice ones up on the back of the bike, so I just bought this. So we're not going to look at FM or medium wave today, we're just going to look at long wave, because there's quite a few things happened in the last year since I've made a video.
A new route called the Caribou, and the gentleman here seated and his wife, the gentleman is William Mann, who is Norman Park's great grandfather, and he was the harbour master in Port Ross from 1860 to
So that's Radio 4 on long wave. Remember on AM and long wave you've always got a ferrite rod that only looks one way, so to get the best reception you have to move the radio.
On the north coast.
See, it's gone there.
In many ways quite an ordinary.
So the transmitter's that way. I think this is the Scottish one, so it's that way.
But it's doesn't make it.
The BBC have to save £200 million. So one thing they're going to do in the next 2 or 3 years is turn the long wave one off, because they think there's not many people listening to it now, which is a shame, because you're in the hills. Long wave is really good to use. FM and DAB and all that's pretty shoddy, so it's a shame. It was saved in the 90s once because it had the cricket on it, so when they said they were going to turn it off, it got saved because everyone wanted to watch the cricket, because DAB wasn't in then and you didn't have Radio 4 Extra. But this time it's going to go, which is a shame, because it's the only transmitter that's still valve that the BBC still use, because in the 80s they didn't put transformers in it because they thought it'd go a long time ago, but it's lasted till 2020, so it's got metre high big valves instead of transformers in it. And another fact, the BBC are the only ones that use 198 long wave, so you can get it all over the world. And the Trident submarine used to use it to make sure Blighty was still there. And in the 90s there was a shock, because they came out of the water, as they do every now and then, turned on to listen to Radio 4, and it wasn't there, so they had to get in contact with Blighty to make sure that we haven't been bombed or anything. And the BBC had a fire alarm, so the transmitter was off and things like that, apparently. So that's just one of those interesting stories. The other transmitter that's on here, which is interesting,
and they're looking for a photograph. That's why they got
which is really loud on this car, is RTE1 on 252 long wave, which was built for Atlantic 252. Was a pop radio station mainly in the north, which basically pushed commercial radio more forward. Atlantic 252 was great. It sounded American, but it was actually from Ireland, and it was a joint venture between RTL, Radio Television Luxembourg, that owned Radio Luxembourg, and the Irish state government. It caused a lot of trouble and things like that, and obviously that'll disappear if you go like that. If you go to Dublin and you're coming down from the air, from the sky on your airplane, you'll see a big aerial. This is the aerial. That's what it's transmitting. So Dublin is some.
They played Newtown from County Louth. No joy there.
Is that way somewhere? Because that's where the aerial is.
They reckon there were 5 photographers in front
and then
of the grave.
it's gone there, so you're kind of looking at Scotland, obviously.
That's fine.
A little bit of a nerdy stuff for you there. Going to be noisy here, but I've taken you here for a reason. We're at the end of Green Ayre now, and behind us, apart from a big lorry, behind us is the Sainsbury's, and that's where the goods yards for the railway station was, not the actual railway station itself. Now this building I'm standing in front of is Yorkshire House. I don't know much history of the Yorkshire House, but it was one of the best independent venues in Lancaster, and it's closed now. The locals think it won't open again, which is a shame, because it was a place that used to bring a lot of unsigned music from other places around Lancaster. Like I was from Macclesfield, so the Virgin Mary's played in, a lot of the punk bands like the Kirks, they played in, and it's gone. So it's a real shame. It's great. It's a great little venue. So, and I've had a few good nights in it. It used to have a 7-inch vinyl jukebox in about 15 years ago. Oh, you caught me up. Now this lane's quite interesting. This is Sugar House Alley, as it says over there, and this is where the Students' Union is. So, as you can see, there was a little bit of a satire on the wall there. Von Juncker says, "You are back in the EU." So yeah, a little bit of a student satire. At the bottom here is the Sugar House, which is the Students' Union. Obviously I can't get in, which is probably a good thing. And that was the first boiling house for sugar. One of the first boiling houses for sugar in the UK. So it was a big debate on whether to change its name a couple of years ago, which gladly it wasn't, or else you kind of lose the history of the whole area really. So I'm glad it didn't change, but I always thought it was called the Sugar House because there was lots of nice young ladies in it when I was younger, but I was wrong. We're going to be struggling for sound again because, well, the traffic. But this is a building to remember if you walk around here again. This is Gillows, and this was one of the biggest. I don't know if it was the biggest or was the biggest seller of bespoke furniture from the 1700s onwards. So David Cameron will have Gillows furniture in his estate. So will Prince Charlie Boy. And it has all come from this company, and it was here because obviously it got its wood from abroad. And what I haven't said in this video is Lancaster was on the trade triangle, so things went from Lancaster and we got things like wood, etc, sugar. So that's why all these buildings are very linked. There's lots more history in Lancaster that I still have to explore, but that's just a little bit of a taster that there's a little bit more to green air than you think. Didn't see you there.
Wrong channel.
Oh, sorry. Always have to finish on a pint, so decided to have one in the Golden Lion in the Canal Quarter. Thanks for watching. As I say, there's so much more history down at Green Ayre. I'm not a pro at it, so in the bottom you can, if I've got anything wrong, put it in the comments below. Give us a share and a like, and subscribe if you want. If you don't subscribe. Thank you very much for watching again. Until next time.